Hey, this is Bill White with Succinct Research, reporting live from the Boise International Airport. I just arrived here, starting off my research travels for my PhD, and I thought I'd just make a short video talking about travel hacking and the ways that graduate students can figure out techniques to get themselves to where they need to be to do research and attend conferences and beyond. So basically, I've alluded to travel hacking before, but it's the way that I've accomplished my travel this year. My first year in my PhD, I've been able to go to all the conferences I needed to, and now here I'm in Boise using grant money that I got to go do research for my PhD. I got it through a combination of applying for grants and getting frequent flyer miles. So I was just going to talk real fast about how I've done so far this year. So basically, graduate students are caught between a rock and a hard place because we've got a lot of obligations, but we also don't have the means to achieve what we need to a lot of the time. So we need to go to conferences, we need to do research and internships and stuff. A lot of times that travel is not actually covered by our university, so we've got to find other ways to do it. And my motto is to find as many ways to use other people's cash before you actually have to dip into your own pocket and pull out some of your own money. So being a poor graduate student again has forced me to scramble, forced me to try to find different kinds of ways to get stuff done. So so far I've achieved my goals through a combination of writing grants, using a little bit of my own cash, and travel hacking, which is basically getting frequent flyer miles and hotel rewards to cover my trip. So this trip that I did this right now to come to Boise, that was covered under a grant. It's actually a research grant rather than a travel grant. I went to the SHA under a travel grant, and I'll tell you, I really screwed up going to the SAA because I didn't apply my grant correctly and I got turned down. So that's something that I'll talk about in a few seconds. But some of the tips that I have if you want to try to travel hack or get all your travel covered is think about your obligations like right away once the school year starts. I mean, there's going to be all kinds of rad conferences and stuff that you're going to want to attend, but you can't do them all. So you got to figure out what your priorities are and what's going to actually benefit your career and your education. Once you have a good idea about that, that allows you to plan and strategize trying to get a combination of frequent flyer miles and grants in order to accomplish those goals. So second step, once you figure out which conferences you're going to go to, what research opportunities you're going to take, you need to figure out how you're going to pay that. So, are you going to ask your advisor for money? Are you going to ask your department? Are you going to go through your university's graduate student and professional development organization? Those are all options that are open to you. That's one of the benefits of being a graduate student and going to a university. So, you figure out what you're going to do, where you're going to go, add up the cost. From that point, that's when you can start figuring out how much dough you're going to need, how you're going to get the frequent flyer miles, and how you can strategize. So with grants, you really need to know what the grant is all about and what the parameters of it are. And you're probably going to need to cobble together a whole consortium of different grants in order to cover all your costs. So, research grants will cover a lot of the research costs. Sometimes they'll even pay you a little bit to do the research, but they may have a stipulation on lodging or travel. On the other hand, travel grants, they're going to get you there, but they're not really going to get you any equipment or help you with your research. So you're going to have to figure out different kinds of ways to do that. And it's extremely likely that you're going to end up having to cobble together more than one grant. The other thing that you need to think about is the guidelines. You need to pay specific attention to what exactly the grant's asking and what you have to do, because my failure with the SAA, I had applied for a travel grant and I didn't know that there was a caveat that I needed my advisor to write a letter, and so I got turned down, not paying attention to the amount of times that was going to be offered each year. I realized I did not have another opportunity to apply for that, so I'm just out the money for the SAA, but fortunately I got a $16 ticket to go there, and it was upgraded to first class. I feel pretty good. I shared a room with someone else. My hotel costs were low, and I drank cheap beer and ate, cheap food cart food while I was there. So I was able to minimize my cost, fortunately, because I didn't get the grant. Third thing I want to say is once you've figured out the grants and you start applying, just understand you're gonna lose. You're not gonna get all the grants. Nobody gets all the grants they apply for, and you should be prepared to more than cover your expenses. So here I'm in Boise. I applied for 4 or 5 different grants. I got 2 of them. It was enough for me to cover my expenses to get here, and pay me a little bit to do the research and get some scans, do archival work. But it was not enough to cover getting a new laptop or some of the other expenses that you might want to have covered. So just think about that. Finally, once you've got the grant, you've figured out which grants you're going to get, or you've applied, you've budgeted for everything. Then you got to figure out how you're going to fill in the gaps, and you can do that with travel hacking. So basically, the easiest way to travel hack is to get credit cards, get the bonus miles, get hotel loyalty points, and then use those to fill in the gaps for your travel. So that's an extremely complicated thing. You can go so deep as to do round the world flights to get like first class status. I mean, there are masters in the world of travel hacking. 2 resources I'd really would recommend you check out if you're going to go down the travel hacking route. Travel with Grant, that's www.travelgrant.com, travelwithgrant.com. He really helped me out a lot to get my annual travel expenses covered. Then if you want to know the nuances and like all the current happenings in travel hacking, you can't miss up Flyer Talk. So that's www.flyertalk.com. That's like the home of the gurus. They tell you everything that you need to know about travel hacking. And then as a last resort, if you can't fulfill your needs through travel hacking and grants, dip into your pocketbook. If you're a smart person, you're already saving a little bit of cash from your meager wages, or you've planned ahead with your student loans that you're going to cover some of these trips. You can't get it done with the grants, you can't get enough of the travel hacking miles or all of your nights covered. That's when you dip into your pocket. I don't like it, but you can always crash on somebody else's couch. But those are my tips. That's how I figured out what I did here in the first year of my PhD. I'll recap real quick. Number 1, you need to know what your obligations are. Number 2, figure out how much money that's going to cost. 3, start writing grants, understanding that you're going to fail more than half the time. You're not going to get the grants you're after. Prepare for that. Be prepared. Hit the grants hard. Finesse that. Get it done. If you can't get it all through grants, travel hack. Be careful with the travel hacking, though. You can get deep in credit card debt, so know yourself. And if you have to, dip into your own pocket. So those are my tips that I got right now. Archaeologists out there thinking about traveling, travel hacking, check it out. Those 2 resources, travelwithgrant.com and flyertalk.com. Between all that stuff, you're smart people, you'll be able to figure out how to get your stuff done, how to get your research covered. So Bill White, Succinct Research, out. Take care.